What's up, guys? This is K-Lo, and normally I'm here to give you the lowdown on all things gaming, but welcome to a joyous occasion here on the Game Sandwich YouTube channel, where we're going to be trying out a new video, and who better to be my test subject? I'm going to be there with him. Aden, why don't you say what's up?
Hello, welcome to a new segment we're calling Order Up. This is where we are going to put our cooking skills to the test and see what comes out of it. I'm not a cook. Kaylo, are you a cook?
I would say I'm decent at cooking. I'm not going to say I'm great. I'm going to say I can get this done, hopefully.
Okay. Well, you know what? At least you have a little bit of confidence. I have like zero because like my skills are like mainly baking.
Okay.
I can follow a good recipe when it comes to a cake.
Well,
But
yeah, I don't know. This is gonna be so. Cut to the footage of one of our dishes burning. I can almost guarantee that. But
but
you have some more to say here about this show.
yeah.
I don't know what to do here.
We okay, so I have made a wheel, and if anyone has suggestions in the comments, please add to this wheel because we're gonna need more over time eventually. But for now, it's a wheel with 25 items on it that are all from different video games that are just dishes that you can either make in the game or appear in the game. And we're going to spin this wheel, figure out what we have to cook, and then we are going to find a recipe and going to make them. Now, I will point out that Kevin has no dietary restrictions here, to my knowledge, at least.
No.
I do. I am completely vegan, so that means that anything I make is going to have to be changed for that. So, really, when we reveal the final recipes, it's going to be pretty interesting because we're going to have one normal one and then one, crazy vegan person one.
Who knows? And yeah, so we're gonna follow our cooking journeys throughout this whole video. We're gonna cut between Aden and I, kind of whipping up whatever the wheel chooses here. I'm seeing a different selection of games. I'm seeing some Fallout, some Final Fantasy, some Breath of the Wild. I'm seeing it all. So
Yep. There's a little mix. There's a good mix. I did some really popular ones, some less popular ones. I mean, Little Dragon's Cafe is on here, so
I'm looking at Skyrim. You have apple cabbage stew.
yeah.
Oh gosh, it's gonna be so. All right, you know what? I think now is the best time of the video. Let's spin the wheel, and
Okay.
do we want to say to kind of throw us both a bone here, because we both ultimately do have to agree on what we're cooking. If we see a recipe that we really just don't think is the vibe, do we get a veto? Or do we have to agree on
Okay.
it?
You know what? I will give each of us one veto.
Okay.
Like, if you are absolutely 100% against the recipe, then fine. I will give you a veto. I personally, everything on here, I'm willing to do.
Okay. I'm just
So,
saying, if we come
there we
across
go.
something wild, but without
And
further
also,
ado.
before we spin, sorry, before we spin, if you were excited about this, if you like the idea of this show, you want to see it continue, then drop a like, enjoy this video, and like scribble to us, subscribe, whatever. We love the support. We thank you. Let's get into this. Kevin, without further ado,
This is
please.
not rigged. This is not. This is totally randomized. So we are
It was on
spinning
wheelpicker.com.
wheelpicker.com. We are spinning, and what are we landing? Oh. Oh no. What is this?
It's a veggie
Oh!
medley soup. That's okay.
I can live with that. I think
That's easy.
that's totally fine. This is from Final Fantasy. Now, this is what scares me. It's from Final Fantasy. It's just that this can go off the rails. But Veggie Melody, I feel, is doable for both of us because, from my knowledge,
Yeah.
at least, there's nothing like, outrageous in this, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing outrageous. I mean, really, you can see an image of the actual meal, in the in the game, and the meal honestly looks delicious. That's the reason why I thought it would be good to add. Like, I just sent you a picture of it. I think it went through,
Okay.
but I don't know. It kind of did go through and then didn't go through. That's weird. But
That is the stew, even
yeah.
though
So
okay, that worked. That cropped out well.
yeah. So there you go. That's the stew. So in it, I mean, this recipe that I have pulled up for it, it says specifically there's like vegetable broth in it, coconut milk, like sweet potatoes, bok choy, oyster mushrooms, pea sprouts, and like just various like herbs. So it's not bad.
I
There
mean,
you go.
can we really screw up vegetable soup? Maybe.
I mean, you'd be surprised.
There's room for error, but without
Now,
further oh,
the big question here is though, do you want to keep this or do you want to spin one more time and see if we get something crazy so that we can have a really fun first episode?
I'm gonna regret this, but I'm gonna say let's spin again. Because I think you want to do that. Yeah,
YOLO!
alright, so we're gonna spin again. Okay. Here's a second wheel spin. We're gonna get something so messed up, and I'm gonna blame you for this. Are we gonna get the same thing?
Yes.
Brahmin Noodles. This is what
Yes.
I was saying. This is exactly what I'm
Yes.
saying. How do we do this? A cow, I assume, right? Brahmin?
Yeah, I mean, Brahmins are cows.
Yeah, so that's fine.
Yeah.
But now I need to see what Brahmin noodle stew would entail. Alright, so I'm
I mean,
pulling up Brahmin
so-
noodle stew.
I mean, it says specifically Brahmin meat, hooves, ears, cheeks. All
Cheeks.
delicious. It says
Cheeks.
spring onions and leeks, and whatever broth you find suitable, salt, pepper, and seasonings that you have on hand. That's the actual recipe.
So that doesn't seem entirely bad.
Like, that's the actual recipe from the game. So, like, that it literally just lays it out.
It's just beef stew. So we went from
Yeah.
vegetable stew to beef stew, essentially.
Yeah. But it also says noodle soup, so like, and there's no noodles in the recipe. Quite literally, there's no noodles on that paper for the recipe. So I guess add whatever noodles you want.
I mean, essentially,
So-
might as well. All right, this is gonna be interesting. I think, without further ado, I think it's time where we leave the video game layer and get out into the real world. And
The real world.
yeah, it's scary out there. I want to go touch grass for a little bit, but I think it's time we get to cooking. So we'll come back here with our dishes and hope for the best. Maybe
We will record the journey for you guys and see if you enjoy it.
All right, so we'll catch you in the next few clips.
What's up, guys? Hey, K-Lo, how's it going? Just got to the store. Going to grab a few things. I decided that since my version of this dish needs to be vegan, I'm going to get 3 different types of fake meat. And for those of you who don't know, Gardein makes really good fake meat. So I was going to go with like the Gardein beef tips possibly, and also go with Beyond Meat and like do some maybe like sausages and also some like crumbles or something. That way I have a nice variety, because like the recipe called for 3 different meats from a Brahmin. So I'm going with like 3 different beef style things. But yeah, see you guys in there. What's up? Welcome back. I got all my stuff from the store. Got everything ready. Got bok choy here, just because I wanted to add that to the recipe. Also, already washed it, but I got my leeks right here. Or, well, actually, this is the leeks. This is the bok choy. Now I got. And then I also grabbed the spring onions right here. Got those together. Going to give those a quick chop. See how they turn out. Then I'm going to get them in a pan, fry them up, and going to get them a nice pot of noodles. While at the store, grabbed packets of ramen noodles just because I thought ramen would be the best for it.
I was also considering udon noodles, but, you know, wanted to go with ramen. Then I also grabbed this to go with it. Some nice Tears of the Sun hot sauce, because I was thinking, oh, you know what? It's a beef dish. It sounds really good with a nice, like, savory hot sauce. So, see how that turns out.
All right, so it's K-Lo. I'm here. This is my camera. We're going to be going to the store to pick up all the ingredients. Now, in case you don't know, Aden's doing a whole different recipe, so I have to abide by a different recipe as well. I gotta one-up him here. Hopefully, he sees this. But I'm gonna make a recipe inspired by Cook, who happens to be in Fallout New Vegas, one of my favorite Fallouts of all time. So we're gonna add a few things. I'm gonna flash the recipe right here so you guys can follow along if you want. But let's see when we get to the store how much of this I remember. But without further ado, let's get out into the real world. And yeah, this is gonna go off the rails. Also, real quick, pending anything changing, I'm gonna try to make this recipe as cheap as possible, because when you're in the wasteland, you're not gonna be going for the finest things out there. You're pretty much just trying to survive. So the main goal here is to get the best of the worst ingredients and kind of just see what happens. I'm gonna get some ramen noodles, because let's be honest, I'm not cooking ramen noodles or anything from scratch. So we're gonna get into the grocery store. I'm gonna kind of get the cart together. We're gonna figure everything else from there. So yeah, let's hope for the best. All right, we're back and we did it somehow. I feel like I forgot something. We got the basic components, and there's other things here that I don't really want to get into too many details about because people are around and they're looking at me. But I stuck to my goal, surprisingly, and our grand total came to like $12.43 for like everything. I do have a few odds and ends at the house, like potatoes, onions, and stuff like that. But we got a decent amount of stuff for that amount of money, so that's good. Also, the beef I picked out, oh my gosh, it is questionable. It looks like normal cut steak, but it also looks like ground beef. Yeah, I don't know, but I guess cut to me starting to cook. Yeah, I'll see you guys in the next clip.
I am back with helpful information. I had to talk to my wife because I'm not the greatest cook. And whenever you are chopping leeks, apparently you have to cut the dark end off, cut the root off, and then you cut it in half like so, and then chop it down the middle. Like chop the whole thing down like this. And once you have that, then you can throw everything into a strainer and you can rinse it all together to get rid of the dirt, because apparently leeks have a lot of dirt in them. I did not know that. But also, to bring you guys over here, so since I'm vegan, I am going to be doing things a little bit differently than Kevin. And so I have 3 different meats to throw into it because that's what the recipe calls for. I have this right here by Plant Inspired. It is plant-based steaks, like steak bits. Then I also have sweet and sour beef bites. And then I also am using Impossible ground beef. I'm going to throw all 3 of those together. And as you can see, it is sizzling right now, cooking those 2 together. And then this one's going to be separate just because there's a lot of oil on this one. And I didn't want to like mix a bunch of oil in just because I have people in my life who are oil sensitive. So got that. Now I will be back again after I get this rinsed and I start getting the veggies all cooked.
All right, so we are back here in the kitchen. The kitchen's right here. We're gonna do everything on the stove. I'll get into all that. But the whole recipe, what does this exactly call for? I'm gonna flash it right here, but I'll run you through everything that I bought to kind of give you an idea. This is good. This is already off the rails. All right, up first, we got the beef broth. This is the biggest thing that I know I made a mistake about because this calls for stock and I got broth. Apparently there's a difference. I Googled it. You guys can tell me the main difference, but we're gonna be rocking with broth and it's fat-free. It was cheap, I don't know. So that's thing number one. Up next, this recipe calls for basil. I got basil leaves, like ground up. I don't know if that's gonna make a difference, but we got it. This is also calling for 1 potato and 1 onion, the whole deal. We got it right here. This was already at the house. Up next, this is the thing that's gonna add a kick. I personally don't know how this is gonna go, but we got 1 whole jalapeno. This is gonna be pretty spicy. If I forget to take out the seeds, I don't know, fast forward to subtle foreshadowing. Now, this recipe called for chopped up vegetables. I'm looking at it. It says peas, carrots, corn, celery. And I just said to heck with that. So I picked up this mix of onions, carrots, and celery. I also just realized now, well, no, it does 1 onion and then whatever. So this is just mixed up, chopped up already, carrots, onion, all that stuff. So this is gonna be a lifesaver. I'm just gonna throw, ideally, this looks like 1 cup. This whole thing in the mix or whatever. So yeah, this is gonna be a lifesaver. I also didn't know it had like a specific name. It says Meyer-Poi mix. I don't know. You guys can tell me right there. You're reading it backwards, but that's what it is. Of course, we need noodles for a soup. This is technically a stew, but in my head, I'm processing ramen, and that's exactly what we got. We got the classic Manchurian beef ramen. Yeah, I just need noodles, and there's no way I'm making them from scratch or anything. So, old reliable right here. All right, last but certainly not least is the beef. And this is the thing I was talking to you guys about earlier, where I got a bunch of Angus beef round, cube steak. It's boneless, but like it looks like ground beef. And that's my problem. It was on sale for like $4, $5 for whatever reason. I don't know. Is this gonna taste good? I don't know. So we're gonna kind of get into the cooking part now. Once I figure out what I need, like pans, pots, all that stuff. So I'll see you guys in the next clip.
All right, going to give each one of these spring onions a nice chop. Get everything good. Now, if you want, you can go ahead and criticize my cutting technique. I am terrible because I'm not the one who cooks very often. Typically, it is my wife who cooks. So you can go ahead and yell at me for cutting things badly, but whatever. Getting the spring onions. Now, those look good. Use the rest for garnish later. And also now going to cut the bok choy. Alright. But while I do this, we can go check in on K-Lo and see how he's doing. I wonder if he also has trouble cutting vegetables.
All right, so I have potentially 2 camera angles going here. I'm gonna see how this all works out in the edit. But right now it says we need to brown the stew beef in an oiled up saucepan. And I'm gonna be using avocado oil. I don't know. Again, I just have this stuff at home. But it also says we need to add the beef stock and beer into a soup thing, pan, bowl, whatever you want to call it. So we're gonna do that right now and kind of see what goes on from there. So in the actual soup pan, we're gonna add the 1/2 cup of broth and then the 12 ounces of beer. So I'm gonna try to measure this out as perfectly as I can. This smells good. And then we're gonna have a special appearance by someone, a local companion that I hold near and dear to my heart. So this is gonna be 1 cup, as I almost spill it everywhere. We're gonna add 1 cup, and then a 1/2 cup of that same broth. Which, I mean, how much could I really screw this up? Not much. Like, there's not much room for error. So there goes that, and then this is the empty one. This is the 12 ounces of beer going in, so that's all clear. Now, it also says, this is pretty hot, so let's get some avocado oil. Of course, my phone here is resting on that, so we'll be right back. All right, I have the oil kind of ripping here. I should turn on the actual broth. As you can see, it's getting steamy. So here is the questionable beef that we're running with. And then we have to let that beef stock and beer simmer for an hour and a half. So this is gonna be a long time, but that gives us time to do all this with the beef and browning it. I'm also using my hands. Like, sorry, that's just the way we're gonna do things here. Ow, ow, that hurt, that hurt. Ow, God, this is turning out so bad. But we're gonna brown that, and I'm gonna use tongs, and then we'll get back to everything else. Okay, so I'm gonna take this camera and show you guys. So as you can see, everything is kind of simmering here. Trying to get that nice Maillard reaction. That's the beef stock and beer. Gonna let that simmer. Look at that browning. That's what we want. That's all that we want. So, look at that, nice and brown. The only thing I'm worried about, we didn't season it, but I assume we're gonna do everything in there. And we have a special guest, my loyal companion. This is my dog, Oliver. He's come to say hi, and he's always helping me cook everything. Clearly, he's invested in everything. Right, Bubba? Give me one. Give me one. Yeah, that's my boy. So yeah, he's gonna help me cook. As you can see, he's very... You're gonna get a little piece. A little piece, buddy. So we're gonna kind of cook the rest of this out, and we'll take it from there. I'm also slacking here to that beef broth and beer mixture. We're gonna add the salt. We're gonna add the black pepper, thyme, and basil. So I'm gonna cut those up, and then I'll show you the rest.
I'm awkwardly putting in the ramen. But no, I'm putting the ramen in. We got the veggies cooking. We also have some of the meat cooking in there. So everything's good for right now. If you didn't know, if you're avoiding oil, then you can use water to deglaze a pan. But, there we go. That's almost done. And the veggies are cooking nicely. Also added in some broccoli, just to keep everything have a little more variety. Yes. Look at me, I am a professional chef. Okay, jeez.
All right, so I'm gonna prop you guys up here, because this is clearly the best viewing angle. So we have fresh thyme. I don't exactly know how to like go about this. So do we just add the whole thing? Like, is that what you do with thyme? I don't know. I got too much of it on my hands. That was a good one. All right, buddy, my dog is right here. This is so bad. This is so bad. That beef is also looking pretty done, and it looks like it's burning. So I'm going to transfer over to here. Hello. I'm going to take the beef off because it looks done. It's nice and brown. I'm going to let it rest. And then we should be good. I mean, that's looking pretty premium, if you ask me, straight out of the wasteland. So now I'm going to get back to the thyme, you guys, and we'll take things from there. All right, so I did chop up the thyme on my cutting board, and this is the basil. I'm gonna throw that into the broth mixture and see what happens there. I'm also gonna add the salt, black pepper, all that stuff, because that seems right. That seems like the right thing to do. And then, yeah, we're gonna cut up the beef. Yeah, that's probably the next step. There's literally no steps to this. This is just the ingredients. It's so bad. All right, let's do it. Also, salt, pepper to that mixture as well. It doesn't say. That's the worst part. It doesn't say anything. So I'm just kind of like going off on my own tangent here. So let's hope. All right, I'm convinced something went wrong already because we are making the stew, and like it looks decent, it smells good, so maybe that's a good indication. But yeah, we got the beef here kind of resting. I'm gonna actually cut that up right now because somebody is getting antsy and wants the beef. But before I forget, how could I not? We got a nice little thing for my local companion right here. Good boy. Did we do good? Pound it. Yeah, that's my boy. All right. I think we're doing good, bud. Also, for those of you keeping track at home, I am currently cubing up all of the potatoes, the onions, all that stuff. Even though I have this mixture, I have to do a whole other onion and a whole other tomato or potato, that whole deal. So we'll come back. All right, so we're back just a few minutes later by the magic of editing. We're gonna make the roux now. So we're gonna get a small saucepan or whatever we're gonna call it. Get 3 tablespoons, let me make sure on that. Yeah, tablespoons of butter, melt that down, throw some flour in, it's gonna turn brown-ish, and then kind of combine everything into one big soup. So let's check back after that. All right, this butter is melting down, which is exactly what we need. The only thing I'm really curious about is I got the jalapenos right here, kind of with the veggies, and some of it has the seed, and I'm fairly sure that's how jalapenos work. You want them like this if you don't want spice, but then this is spice. I mean, worst case, we put it in and then it just kind of, we'll fish it out. But I did off camera to save time and like not bore you. I cut up all the potatoes and onions in this, and then the beef is in that thing, and then we'll throw the noodles, everything. So to this mixture now, because the butter is getting ripping hot, don't want that because I'm gonna burn it. We are going to add 2 tablespoons of flour, which is this one, because I'm smart. 1. 2. That seems easy enough, and I'm gonna use a fork instead of a whisk because, like, all right, this thing is getting all weird. Like, it's very thick. Like, that's a roux. I'd like to believe it's working. I feel like I'm on The Bear, you know, like one of those shows.
Now that the first meats are done and sitting on the pan, I'm going to use this really bad smelling Impossible ground beef. I don't recommend this. If you're vegan, avoid this. I mean, come on. Impossible meat is like kind of disgusting. It kind of really is. Like, it already feels like just grody and disgusting in my hands, and I absolutely don't enjoy it. But we can check in on what Kevin is doing and see how he's handling everything.
Well, Bray, oh my gosh, it's popping. Ew. Why is it like this? All right, I'm holding it up. What is that supposed to be it? Just to give you context. What is this? Is this a roux? Now, do I throw it back? All right, we're gonna throw it back in here. All right, into the thing you go. All right, so this doesn't seem right. This seems, I surely hope Aden is having far better luck than me. So I'm gonna continue to whisk this and throw in the vegetables, and hopefully we're in a better state in the next clip.
So now that the ramen is cooking, I put the ramen packets in it. They were, what type of ramen? It was just Asian vegetables. So I have no idea if it's like going to be good with all of this, but I also plan on putting paprika, onion powder, garlic powder, chili pepper flakes, and ginger in it as well. So that way it'll give it a little extra oomph. And then at the end I will top it off with the Tears of the Sun hot sauce. You don't like getting into this, I don't like it. But okay. I don't know how much to put in.
A sprinkle.
So I'm just going to go that much. Let's see. Because as I've said, I don't cook. I'm going to see how well I manage to put all of these spices in. There we go. More paprika. Onion powder. Garlic powder. I like garlic. So does everybody else in this house. If you don't like garlic, then I'm sorry. But you live a poor life. And chili flakes. Chili pepper flakes. Alright.
All right, so after letting it sit, it's getting more stew-like. It's very like hearty and it's full of all these vegetables, which I think is great. I think that's what you want out of a stew. So what I'm gonna do now is take the beef I made earlier, throw it in here, kind of let that all commingle, and we'll be right back.
And here comes the broth. Beautiful, wonderful broth. Let's get the veggies in there. Veggies. Get a lot of veggies. There we go. Get a little bit of those meats. And one more of each. There we go. Now that look nice. Now, last one. A little bit of the Impossible. And then to garnish, more spring onions. There. Now I wonder how Kevin's turned out.
All right, so the soup is done, or the stew, whatever we're gonna go with. It's fully done. I'm gonna taste test it right now. It looks, I mean, we're looking like a stew. I got everything right here. This is the Brahmin beef stew. Hopefully I killed it. Hopefully these potatoes are cooked too. I haven't really been timing anything. Just kind of going with a gut feeling, which that's what you do in the wasteland. I mean, let me get a little bit of like the actual like, oh, oh, okay. I'm tasting the jalapeno. That's definitely in there. That's definitely present. Oh my gosh, it's so hot. I mean, outside of, I should probably not have done so many jalapenos, it's actually pretty damn good. Like, it's nothing gourmet, obviously, because I made it. But, like, for what it's worth and, like, what I just did here, I think we did a great job. Yeah, so I guess our job's done here. So I'm going to send us back to Aden and, you know, our little chat afterwards.
To be honest, I'm kind of nervous about it, mainly because of the impossible meat. Because the impossible meat is where I'm like, you know. But, I mean, my wife gets it, at least. But, let's try it. What? That's actually not bad. That actually really isn't that bad. I actually really like that. And that hot sauce, I feel like it needs more. So, like, yeah, you know what? I dig it.
And we're back here. We've been hard at work cooking, and I want to get your thoughts first because honestly, full disclosure, you haven't seen my portion of the video. I'll send it your way after this. You gotta watch it. But you are very aesthetic. I'll put it that way. What'd you think of
Oh.
your dish, and what are we feeling about it?
See, part of the aesthetic comes from my wife filmed half of it.
Yeah.
So I'm the one who set it up vertical style and went, here you go.
Yeah.
Gonna set it there and just stand in front of it and then just like do it like I was like on some episode of like Martha Stewart Living Lord. Yes. Or like, I'm on Rachel Ray or something. but no, then after I did that, she was like, no, you need to film it horizontal. Like, here you go. I'm going to help you film this. You're doing it wrong. And I was like, okay, you know what? I don't know anything about filming. That film is not my department. So
It was a lot to balance as far as like cooking and like making sure you're talking to the camera. It was a whole deal.
yeah, but she was the one who got some nice shots of like close-ups of the food and stuff, you know. But in terms of like making it, I thought it was like pretty easy actually. Like it was really just glorified ramen on my end because I just used ramen
Yeah.
packets and just went, hey, I'm just gonna heat up some ramen noodles and just like
Oh.
cook a bunch of like, meat for me because I don't actually eat meat. So it was like a bunch of fake meat and that was it. But like, what about you? Did you actually like, did you do what the recipe said and like actually get like specialty meat like tongue and like cheek and stuff?
I didn't get wild like that. Albeit
Ah, disappointed.
you'll watch the playback of like everything, like my process of buying the stuff. My goal for this recipe was to get the best of the worst as far as like the cheapest meat available, but like still palatable because like I'm gonna eat this obviously. And
Yeah.
I bought this meat. I don't know. I said the exact cut and whatever in the video, but it was chopped steak, but it was ground beef at the same time. I
Now,
don't.
did you actually use like 3 different meats though?
No, I just used one like cut. That was
Aw.
it. But it was so weird. Like I cooked it and it was like strips of steak, but it turned into ground beef and I don't know how or why or whatever. Like it was so weird. And then
Your magic.
yeah, honestly. And then you brought up ramen, and I was talking to you off camera about like, oh, like I might incorporate ramen because that's like what I'm envisioning. I bought the ramen packet thing, like the square, but I didn't use it. I forgot. Like I was sitting there watching the playback of me eating it. And I'm like, you forgot the whole. Like I was like, oh, here's the ramen I'm gonna use, and I didn't use the noodles. So maybe points off for me there.
So whole dish with no noodles.
I just had vegetables.
From the noodle soup here.
I know that was the one
In
thing.
the title.
I was watching the first half whenever we sat down to talk, and I was like, oh, I kind of just forgot the main premise. Aside from the beef, I got the beef in there, and then I put jalapenos in the actual broth to like stew up and everything. I explained it in like how I cooked. I was like, I think the thing with jalapenos is if you don't have the seeds, it's not going to be as spicy. But if you do, then you're screwed. Like
Yeah.
it's going to be insane.
I mean, the spiciness like mainly comes from the seeds, yeah.
Well, spoiler, because you haven't seen this yet. I may or may not have thrown the whole, like I chopped it up and I just threw it in. I was like, we ball.
Oh,
And I was eating it and like
all the seeds.
everything. I mean, I cut
Oh.
it up, but I threw it in. And then there was a part of the video where like I'm eating it, I'm like, oh, this is actually pretty good. And then the moment like it hit the spice, I was like, oh, this is where it's not good. This is where things go off the rails. And you threw in, it was the heat of the sun sauce or something
Yeah,
like that.
it was Tears of the Sun.
Tears of the Sun.
Because like my thought process was this is like barbecue.
Yeah.
So like I wanted something that was like kind of savory but like sweet and everything. So I was like, okay, I want to get a sauce that's pineapple, like mango, like stuff that you'd have like with like barbecue or whatever. And so that's what I did was I found a hot sauce that was mango, pineapple, like very citrusy and everything. And it didn't have a Scoville thing. It was a habanero hot sauce or whatever, and it just said Oh, it's like scale 4 out of 10, 5 out of 10, one of those. And I was like, okay, you know what? I'm just gonna put a little bit in this. And so I put a little bit in, and it wasn't that hot. So I actually like ended up putting like damn near a half
Oh
bottle
my gosh.
in like one of mine because
Yeah.
like I eat spicy food a lot. So I like did like half a bottle of it, and then finally I was like, yes, there's a kick.
Finally, I could feel something. It was a thing where I was cooking this and I realized like, all right, making a stew isn't because like me personally, I've never made a stew like from scratch or how we did it. I've always done like Progresso soup cans. And in my head, like my logic for how I made the recipe, how I went about cooking it, I was thinking like, all right, if I'm in the wasteland, I'm not going to sit here and like focus on how well it aesthetically looks. I mean, to the point, there was thyme somewhere incorporated in the recipe. And I'll be honest, I've never used fresh thyme. I went out of my way to get fresh thyme. I threw the whole thing in. Like
Wow.
the whole it was so bad. Like it's a train wreck in moving motion with me cooking. And then like my whole time doing this, I'm like, I'm normally good at cooking. Like don't let any of what you've seen before fool you. I'm
I
pretty
don't believe it now.
no, this that gets rid of all my credibility. But I'm like
It does.
it does. I'm thinking more or less I'm like, oh, I'm going to be in the wasteland. Like I'm not sitting here chopping on my cutting board. There's a connection here. There's no way I'm doing that. So I'm just going to throw it in and hope for the best. Also, too, my little spin on it, because you had a challenge, what you said as far as you're not using, like, actual meat, and you did some different things. I don't know if you know this character, but from Fallout New Vegas, there's a guy called Cook. Do you remember him?
No, I've never played New Vegas.
Oh, well, perfect. So there is a guy called Cook, and he has his own version of Brahmin stew. And I was like, all right, I'm going to do that. So I had to put beer into the whole thing. It was a whole mess. And that's where the jalapenos got involved. So I blame Fallout New Vegas for my struggles. But
See, I stuck to the recipe of like that you find in game of Brahmin Noodle Soup
Yeah.
and stuck to that and went, oh, it lists off 3 different meats from steak or whatever. So I was like, okay, so I got steak tips. I ended up getting like steak bits, and I ended up getting ground beef. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna mix all of those together
yeah.
into the same dish, and then there you go. There's the 3 different meats. And then I was like, okay, ramen noodles for the noodles. I debated between that and udon noodles, but I was like, you know what? I like ramen noodles better. So, and we already had those, so I was like,
Yeah.
hey, why not just use them? And then I stuck with the leeks, and I stuck with the spring onions, but I was like, that is not enough vegetables, because I like vegetables. Thank you. I don't just use them for a little bit of garnish and everything. So what I did was I used those, and I also added bok choy and I added broccoli, so that way there was like a good variety of veggies.
Oh, looking back on like, because I put together the video, I was looking on like how you you were setting up your bowl, and then I look at my video where I'm literally like, I threw everything in one bowl. I took it off the stove and I just ate it. I'm like a feral animal eating my food, and you're here like, I'm gonna put this in this corner. I'm here putting hot sauce. It was like night and day difference, and I couldn't have been happier. The way
I mean, I was cooking for my family here, so like, I'm like, hey,
yeah,
I need to make it presentable. I want it to be good.
yeah.
Jeez. I have a wasteland family here. I need to I need to make things appropriate.
It shows you the duality of Game Sandwich here. I gave my dog some beef and everything. He makes an appearance in the video, but I was sitting there like, man, like final edit time. I was like, yeah, no, like I was not going for aesthetics. I was going for pure. I just want to make it out alive. That's all I want to do. Like that's all I need. I need my health points. I need to regen some health. I'm making some stew, and I gotta survive.
Well, now we know what to do differently for next time. So
Well, I'm definitely conceding this round to you. You win as far as aesthetics and overall construction of the dish goes. I mean, who knows? Maybe someone in the comments might think different, but as far as my personal take, you definitely take the cake here, no pun intended. But as far as like this goes for a video here on Game Sandwich, let us know what you thought about everything, how we cooked, what you would have done different. Maybe you try out the recipe and come back here and let us know. Join our Discord to talk more about this stuff and tell us what we did wrong, more specifically what I did wrong, because, again, looking at your footage compared to mine, it was just vibes.
5-star chef here versus your 1. Oh.
No, literally, it was that. It was just absolute pandemonium. But as far as this episode of Order Up goes, I've been K-LO, joined by Aden, and we'll see ya in the next video. If you enjoyed today's video and want more content just like this, consider subscribing to Game Sandwich for all your news, rumors, and reviews. And we'll see you guys next time.